Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the ReWine, where we rewind the latest in entertainment and pop culture news. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Thank you for joining us. There's a lot to get to. I think I don't know of a good name for this one. Maybe the one where we catch up on To Be Continued. As I sent you the list, well, first of all, let me start over. How have you been, Tammy? I feel rude.
I'm good. I mean, our democracy is going down in a fire basket to hell. But other than that, I'm good.
It's a shitstorm. It's a shitstorm. And
Absolute shitstorm.
It's appropriate that you bring that up. As I sent you the news list, I know the list that you gave me, and we are getting to that. And I just wanted to say really, really quick. I know we try to stay away from the politics of it all, but sometimes the decisions, the things that happen, are just so far-reaching that you can't help but to talk about it. And so I know, and this is a To Be Continued that we're picking up. Really quick, let's just start with this because I definitely don't want to end with this shit, but let's just get this over with. So, the Supreme Court, they officially, even after the leak, and people thought that, hey, maybe they would see all the polls and everything, they would see the error of their ways. No, the Supreme Court let their decision stand, and they officially overturned Roe. And and to add on top of that, so they overturned Roe on a 6-3. And of course, guess who added to that shitstorm by writing their own concurring opinion?
Clarence Thomas.
How'd you know? Uncle Clarence, girl. You know what Uncle Clarence said?
That he's going after same-sex marriage next?
Yeah. So he says, the fears of the LGBT community, we talked about this. He's going after same-sex marriage. Of course, he wouldn't go after interracial marriage, although he might, because his wife happens to be white. What do you call it when two demons spawn, Mary?
Are you calling them demons?
I am.
It's appropriate.
But he's not only going after same-sex marriage, he's going after contraception. So
are they going to go after Viagra and
condoms and all?
Condoms and everything then? Or is it just the pill?
Probably just the things that affect women and our reproductive rights and our bodies and the right for us to choose. So yeah, they're trying to push us back to the 50s in a shitstorm. But that's not it. So the Roe thing was not unexpected because you kind of knew it was coming. But there are some other decisions that people really need to pay attention to. They basically struck down Miranda. They're saying it's not a full strike, but they're saying that you cannot sue a police officer if they don't Mirandize you, which is a very, very slippery slope. And so there's a difference. People get tricky. And so all I'm going to say is, if you're ever taken in for questioning from the police, just ask for a lawyer. That is it. Don't like we tell people all the time, don't try to outsmart the system. Don't try to talk yourself out of anything. Do not say anything, because technically they only have to Mirandize you if they arrest you, not if they just take you in for questioning, or if you voluntarily go down to the police station and start talking. So that's a strike against civil rights. They struck down New York State's concealed handgun laws. New York had some of the most restrictive laws in the country, which did a great job, because you rarely, if ever, heard about mass shootings. Well, there was the one in Buffalo, but New York was considered to be one of the safest states for that. So it goes back to, okay, what happened to states' rights and the states having the right to decide for themselves. They also took a strike at the separation of church and state by saying that public funds now have to be used for private religious school tuition. So this court, we've had some strange courts. We've had some strict courts. We've had some courts that have made very, very bad decisions before. But I think this is probably going to go down as one of the most dangerous, most extreme versions of the Supreme Court. And Biden needs to extend the court, not for political purposes, but to actually save this fucking democracy. Considering that federal judges, especially Supreme Court judges, are voted in for life, and most of these motherfuckers that were just basically stolen into the court are young as hell. Um, Something's got to be done because they're not ruling on precedent. Roe is a precedent. Miranda is a precedent. Separation of church and state is the heart of the First Amendment in the Constitution as founded by the founding fathers. States' rights for strict constructionists, as most of them claim they are, that's something that they've always been. So this court is systematically helping to dismantle the democracy. So that is me on my soapbox. That is me saying that something has got to be done, or we will not recognize this. Like you said, this country is about to burn. You got anything to add to that?
No, I think you summed it up.
So yeah, we can add that to be continued because the demon and his wife, they're going to be in the news a lot, especially the more it comes out about her January 6th. The court isn't going anywhere anytime soon, and I'm sure they're going to do things to continue to chip away at their own legitimacy. So we'll see what happens. Also, in to be continued, Bill Cosby was found guilty of a sexual assault that took place at the Playboy Mansion in 1972. And the survivor, I won't call her a victim, but the survivor was awarded $500,000. What do you think about that one?
What do you mean?
I just mean, I'm not going to say does it, but does it?
Well, I mean, matter to who? My opinion is already set on who Bill Cosby is, so it just solidifies the opinion that I already had of him.
That he's trash, beyond trash.
That he is yes, yeah.
You've used up your bad words for the day.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go along. Yes, he's trash.
Yeah, he is, and he's not the only one. As like I said, I don't really have much to add because we've talked about this, and I don't think it did anything to change our opinion of Bill Cosby. His conviction was overturned on a technicality, which I think was bought and paid for. Like it was a very, very thin sliver of a technicality that they overturned that decision. So he was not found innocent. He was not exonerated. He just got out through a loophole in the law. But I was like, why was it so low? Because $500,000, it's a lot of money, but compared to what that person has gone through and had to live with, but I was also thinking, damn, if the walls of the Playboy Mansion could talk in that grotto, especially back in the heyday, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even the early 2000s, when they were still having all those parties there. Think of how many careers, life, and empires would be brought down by what happened at that mansion. So yeah, it doesn't add, DeShaun Watson, we talked about him in our last episode. He has since settled 20 of the 24 cases around him or surrounding him. I guess he's trying to clear his slate before the season starts, or before the football season starts. But the damage has already been done. There's no unringing that bell. There's no going back to it, to who people thought you were before. There's no getting that back. No matter how many cases you settle, it will always be out there.
I have no opinion on DeShaun Watson. I've already said it. I've said it the multiple times that we've talked about him. So knowing that he settled these cases, I'm just like, I'm sure it's over 60 women. So, I mean,
Yeah. the 24 cases, I agree with you. And the only thing is, we've said it too, it's good to see where the NFL draws the line. I guess today's the day for me having complex feelings about the subjects that we're talking about, because I am an NFL fan. And when I watch it, I try to just keep my personal feelings out of it and just watch for my love of football, the love of the sport, the love of some of the players who play the sport. Because the NFL itself, as an institution, as a business, as a corporation, is trash. So you draw the line at someone standing up for civil rights, but not at someone sexually assaulting or being accused of sexual assault of over 60 women. That to me makes absolutely no fucking sense, but it is what it is. Also in our to be continued, Ezra Miller, DC, Warner Brothers, the new Warner Brothers chief, has inherited one hell of a problem when it comes to Ezra Miller. And just when you think it can't get any worse, something worse comes out. Every week there's something new out about Ezra Miller. And I guess their saving grace is that he's not a household name, that the Flash hadn't already come out, that is not due to come out till next year. But considering that the new head of Warner Brothers, I think his name is Zaslav, has said that his goal is to get DC to finally do what we've been saying they should do, is to try to get DC on the same level as the MCU. And maybe Flash is supposed to be part of their new jumping off point. What do you do with this $200 movie when you have a star who probably, there's no telling what is going to happen between now and next year? They say they've tried to reach out and help him, but it's not getting better.
Well, they said they're recasting him anyway. This is his one movie, and they spent millions of dollars, so it's coming out whether we think so or not, because it's part of the revamp of what the DCU should be. I want to see it. I'm gonna kind of have to do what people do with football. I want to see it because they're also going to have like Black Adam, The Rock is going to be it, all of that. Look, to get to MCU universe, you need to pick actors. First of all, Ezra Miller was a weird person before they casted him as the Flash. And people talked about that. Like, why him? There was questions about the casting of the Flash when he was first chosen. And it was ignored. They need to get to the point where they pick actors who are known but not well known. They need one very well known actor like the MCU did, because they did that with Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. was the star, and then everything else was created around him and his character, and then it branched out from there. They need to do that because the actors that they have been choosing, that has not happened at all. They could have done that with Ben Affleck, but he got his own issues as well. So I would hope that maybe Jason Momoa.
Yeah. I think
Gal Gadot. Well, but
yeah. Like you said, no one's perfect. Everyone's gonna have issues. They're still human. We all make mistakes. I get that. And like I said, I agree with you. I think the problem with Affleck, maybe there's no going back, probably, because we both agree. We've never talked about Batman, but I thought Robert Pattinson did a great job as Batman. I thought Bruce Wayne was a little bit, but I understand, given the way the movie was, that so maybe to continue to build around him. That movie actually turned out better than I thought it was going to be. I hate that we never really discussed it, but him as emo Batman, and you understand once you watch it why it was so emo. I got it. I understood it. So maybe they can continue to build with him and keep a consistent Batman. My problem with Batfleck is I don't think he was ever given the right material to play to be the Batman that we thought he was going to be. Henry Cavill wasn't a bad Superman. Again, I just don't think they gave him the right material to. They didn't write the right movies for him to be Superman, and now we're kind of past that maybe. So I don't know. The problem, and I agree with you. I knew who Ezra Miller was because I liked some of his movies. I always thought he was just a little quirky and a little weird. I didn't know he was just blown out batshit crazy. Like, you know. And when I saw him as the Flash in the Justice League, I didn't hate it. So I was looking forward to the movie. And I'm like you, I'm still looking forward to the movie. I still want to see the movie. And it's good that they've already made the decision that they're going to recast. So that's great. But now it's just a matter of how do you kind of save face with this movie? Do you send it directly to HBO Max? Do you put it in theaters without a whole lot of fanfare? Like, they're definitely, the third option is the most expensive and the one that they're least likely to do, especially considering how long it took them. But part of that was because of COVID. But they've already spent $200 million on this movie, so they're definitely not going to reshoot it. So what do you think, A or B? Send it straight to HBO Max, or do you put it in the theaters?
Put it in the theater. What? And Monopoly. Look, they put it in the theater. Their promotions are around how fucking weird he is. But no, there's no bad press. Okay, bad press is still good press as long as you can spin the story. So I would say they need to get off their ass and spin this story to sell the Flash. Flash is supposed to be an awkward kid anyway. He's supposed to be this awkward, nerdy kid. So sell it. All right. But then also make sure you let people know you're recasting him. This is his one and only movie. And the reason why people need to go watch The Flash is because you watch The Flash for the revamp of the DCU. Okay, you're going to be recast, but we got other characters that I need you to get to know who they are because they're going to be in the other movies. Like, come on, like, where's your PR? Like where's their PR on selling this? You know, like, they need to sell it. Robert Downey Jr. was a addict. He was, granted, phenomenal actor. Okay, even when he was high, but he was an addict and revamped his image, and they put him as the head of the revamped image of Marvel, and it worked. It was marketing on how they got that to work, and I still think they can do it with The Flash. I'm getting off my soapbox now.
No, you're fine. I agree with you to a certain extent. The allegations, and that's the thing. And I agree with you. I think it should be in the theaters, and that was the other part of the story was the PR about it. Do you put it out there and you focus on like Batgirl and Black Adam and the other characters who are going to be in it? Because unless he gets his shit together over the next year, gets into rehab, goes to whatever, gets whatever help he needs, there is no way, especially with these allegations out there about him, that you can tout out Ezra Miller and put him on a fucking press tour. There's no way. So their saving grace at this is A, he's not a household name. Every time something happens, he's not necessarily trending on social media. The trades are carrying it, and of course, read the trades to kind of to get the news. But he's not so big where he would have been trending, where he's trending every single time on social media. So, like I said, the fact that this is a year from now, literally. Quite literally, pretty much a year to the date from the release date, I think that's also a saving grace. So they have some time to figure out what they're going to do. Now, one of the interesting things about recasting this, since we're talking about it and we know it's going to happen, one of the names I've seen floated out there was Dylan O'Brien. What do you think? I'm a huge Dylan O'Brien fan. You don't think he would be good as a Flash?
No, he's become an asshole.
Dylan O'Brien's become an asshole?
From Teen Wolf, right?
Yeah.
He's too big for his britches now.
How did he get too big for his britches?
Because he won't do the Teen Wolf reunion.
He didn't do the Teen Wolf reunion because he was standing with Arden Cho, who was being paid considerably less than her white female counterparts for coming back.
First of all, she's not that big of a character.
She was his love interest for 2 seasons after Allison died.
Eddie, let's be honest. She wasn't that big of a character, and she wasn't beloved. The fans did not like her character. They were okay when she left. They didn't miss her. She's not on the same level on coming back as the other woman. I forgot her name. What is it? No, not that's not Cara. Oh, I forgot what the woman's name is. His first love interest. Like, I understand Arden Cho's thing, but I don't feel that she was the household name of the Teen Wolf franchise enough to request to be paid the same amount as the other characters who were coming back, who were more popular and more important to the series. Like, you weren't a beloved character. That's just me.
No, I disagree. I think she was there for 2 seasons. She obviously she was beloved enough for you to bring her back. I actually liked her caricature. I hate the way that she was written off with no real closure. I hated that. She was there for longer than the time that Allison was actually there. So if you can't, don't lowball me, because of that. If you're asking me back, to do the work and to do the same work. If her demands were, if they were just trying to get her in for an episode or a cameo and she's expecting the same money, then yeah, that's a problem. But if you're asking me to come in and do the work, do the heavy lifting, do the same amount of work, then you need to pay me the same or something comparable. So it's business. And he says he's standing with her so I don't think that he's too big for his britches. Maybe there's another reason he didn't want to come back. I don't know. I know that him and the lead, they're Tyler Posey, they're still like the best of friends. So I don't think that's it. So maybe it was that, or maybe he wanted more money. I don't know. I can only go by what he says. So I understand it. I understand for both perspectives. I'm going to miss not having Styles in the Teen Wolf movie because he was one of my favorite characters, and I love Dylan O'Brien. So who would you? But going back to that, I don't necessarily know that I see him as the Flash. Do you have any ideas besides Grant Gustin? Who
I wouldn't want Grant Gustin to be it either.
I don't either. I'm all flashed out on him. Believe it or not, I've even stopped watching The Flash. Like, I haven't seen one episode this season, and I don't miss it. I don't intend to go back and watch it. Like, I'm over him as The Flash. Is there someone else you could see playing that role?
No. Now you got me thinking.
I know, huh?
Oh, gosh. I prefer no name. Like someone who is on a lesser known TV show, but is making a name for himself, who can be casted, like a Tom Holland. A lesser,
yeah, like
Tom Holland was a lesser known actor who they casted and completely grew from being casted as Spider-Man. And I think that look, people may say that DC is copying, people may try to say that DC is copying MCU, but let's be honest, y'all. MCU copied DC first. I'm gonna just put that out there now. Okay. So I feel it's only right that DC gives them a taste of their own medicine, but then does it better, because I feel you have better characters. So let's follow the template of what Marvel did in order to be as huge as they are. It's a success. Let's do it that way. Y'all should be sitting in a room talking about making those little moves that Marvel did at the very beginning, so you can dominate in movies the way that you dominated in TV up until recently, when the Disney Plus Marvel series have completely surpassed the DC series. I need them to get back to where they were.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, okay. Are we gonna have to have another Marvel versus DC episode?
Probably. Okay, so here's I just looked it up because I drew a blank too after Dylan O'Brien. I don't necessarily see it, but it could happen. But here's some of the people that they're saying, like Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things. He looks like he could be a good nerdy Barry Allen. Will Poulter.
Oh, fuck
Andy
no, he's not cute enough.
Andy Samberg, no. This list
Andy
has
Samberg's
Dylan
too old.
O'Brien. Glenn Powell. I don't know if I necessarily see him. And of course,
He's too old.
all the lists have Grant Gustin. No. Miles Teller. Hell no.
Too old.
Joe Keery from Stranger Things. He. You don't watch Stranger Things, do you?
I do not, and I never will.
He's one of the people. Oh, you don't know what you're missing. Timothy Chalamet.
What about Jordan Fisher?
Jordan Fisher was on on one of the lists I saw. Yeah, I think they could.
Because he looks young. I need a young actor. Like, the Flash should be the teenager of the group. I need a young actor to play the Flash, to grow from there. Jordan Fisher he looks young. Who did you say? Decree Montgomery? No, absolutely not. Karen Edgerton? Oh, absolutely not. No. No, I say no to that. He's too old.
There's a dude, or I have another list. There's a dude, Theodore Pellegrin. I've never heard of him. I don't know.
Did you say Timothy Chalamet?
Yeah, he was on one list I saw.
Oh my God! Can I say how much I would love him? But I do feel that he's still too old for the role. But I am in love with that dude. Like,
Timothy Chalamet, he's actually not too old. I think he could probably do it. Here, check your thing. I just sent you the same list I'm looking at, so we can kind of go through it together really quick. Finn Wolfhard.
Who?
He's from Stranger Things.
No, not cute enough. Oh wait, you know what? He got the look though.
Yeah, I told you. That's when I said he could look like Barry Allen. You have Tanner Buchanan. He was from He's All That, and he also stars in Cobra Kai.
No, because He's All That was a crappy movie, so I just can't see him in anything better.
This next dude from the Umbrella Academy, Barry Keoghan.
I
don't see it unless he changes his look.
Do you see how old that face looks?
This is a good one. Jonah Howard King. He's not too well known. He looks like he could do it. He kind of has that goofy looking thing about him.
Okay, Eddie, I am liking this one.
Austin Butler.
No.
I can see it.
No, he's too cute. He's too cute.
Aaron Taylor.
He won't pull off the nerdy.
Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think, might be too old. And also, I think I think he would be better to serve in the Fantastic. I think he would be better as a role in the Fantastic Four, honestly.
Johnny Storm?
Yeah.
I could see him as Johnny Storm.
And this list has Dylan O'Brien also. For me, the jury's still out on him. No. And then Timothy Chalamet. And of course, let's see if number one is Grant Gustin.
Look at that stage show. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm still on number two.
And then number one.
Perfect. Oh, he'd be perfect.
Number one is Grant Gustin. So all the lists seem to have Grant Gustin, but I'm over.
I think they just have him because he's the Flash on TV.
On TV, yeah.
Okay, so my number one vote is going to be for Timothy Chalamet. All right, and if not the Flash, he needs to be brought into the DC universe. Like, no. And I put to the side the fact that I have the same reaction to him that I had to Colin Farrell the first time I saw him. But I think that he would be his stardom is going up, but it's not so high that he can't be in a superhero movie. He's a phenomenal actor. He has that like dark, mysterious, but he can also be like a player, but he can also be a nerd kind of thing. So he got multiple roles he can play, whichever one they want to give him. Like, I think like he would be great to be brought into the DC universe. That's me just giving my outside view without looking at the fact that he's just absolutely gorgeous. And I feel like they should definitely have him. And then my second choice would be the Jonah guy, I think you said.
The British dude, Jonah Pierre Hall or whatever.
Yeah. No, Jonah Hewer King.
Yeah, him.
Yeah, I think he would do. He would be a phenomenal choice as well.
Yeah. The I'm not opposed to
And
Timothy
Finn
Chalamet.
Wolfhard would be my third choice. There you go.
That's a good list. I like that list. I'm not opposed to Timothy Chalamet. I will probably say no because Dune, the popularity of Dune, and I think it has at
Was
least two
Dune
more.
popular?
Yes, it was hugely popular. Um,
That means they're doing a second one, right?
yeah, and
Okay,
Zendaya is
because I'm
getting,
in love with that movie.
yeah, Zendaya is getting more airtime in the second one, more screen
And
time, a lot
Zendaya,
more.
of course she is.
Um, well, and people were mad because she didn't have. They were like, "How can you hype her up like that and not give her?" But you know, but also I think it. I think I want to say it has at least two more sequels already green lighted, so or greenlit. So we'll see if he were actually chosen, if his schedule would allow for that. So I don't know. It's interesting talk about the Flash and what they're going to do. Okay, so I think we got all of our to be continued. So moving on to new stuff. Um, I'm just gonna call this the caucasity because I don't know. You know, James Patterson, world renowned international best selling author of hundreds of thousands of mystery books. Um, he seems to think that older white men face their own type of racism.
The caucasity of it all.
Um, and his quote was, "You don't see a lot of 52-year-old white male actors out, writers." And I'm like, you don't. I yeah,
Stephen King?
I guess I don't know. My thing is this, dude. You don't see a lot of people getting their start at that age, and if his argument would have been better if he was going for ageism. He may. I'm not going to say he's never faced discrimination. I'm not. I can't say that, but I can say without a doubt he's never faced racism. Um, Ageism and racism are two completely different things. Um, And at this point, you are damn near a billionaire from the work that you've done. You just released every time he releases a book, whether he co-authors with someone else, the book he wrote with Bill Clinton was a #1 bestseller on the New York Times list. The book he wrote with Hillary Clinton was a #1 bestseller on the New York Times list. He just released a book a few weeks ago with Dolly Parton, which hit #1 on the New York Times bestseller list and is already greenlit to become a movie, which she is co-producing. So he basically shits gold. At this point, and Vanity Fair did a great article a few years ago about how much of this is he actually writing. Like they, the rumors about him being a Drake and having a ghostwriter have been out there for years, just because of the way he mass produces and writes so many books a year, and co-writes. And so they are like, he could actually just put down 4 words and pass it along and get his name on there as the author or the co-writer. I'm not saying he has a ghostwriter. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying
I
that
heard he
the way,
does.
the way the machine works, it would lead you to believe, so at this point it's just like, dude, if you were going to go with ageism as a form of discrimination, I can wholeheartedly get behind that. I can. And as you can attest, I don't talk about my age. And when people ask me, I just say I'm older than I look, I'm older than I act, I'm older than I sound. And the reason I say that is because I don't want anyone coming back at me about, oh, you shouldn't dress that way, you shouldn't act that way, you're too old to do this, you're too old to do that, you're too old to have such a fascination with Mickey Mouse. I'll cut a motherfucker over some Mickey Mouse.
Yes.
You know that. Okay. I have a Mickey Mouse blanket. I have Mickey Mouse plushies. I have Mickey Mouse backpacks. Anything with Mickey Mouse on it, I'm getting it. I just ordered Mickey Mouse water bottles. Uh, you know, so it's like I love Mickey Mouse, and to me, it doesn't really matter. You're never too old. As long as you're alive, you're never too old. You're alive, you're healthy, go for it. You change, you grow, your dreams change, you go. You have different chapters and different stages of your life. just live it to the fullest. So if his argument was about ageism, I could get with that. And that type of discrimination, I could understand that. But for you to actually say white men experience racism,
Get the fuck out of here.
I'm with you. Like, get the fuck out of here. I don't even know where the caucasity is all I'm gonna say. And then for you to be one of those men who I just said you wake up and you shit money, okay? You put your name on a book and it's going to be automatically hit the New York Times bestseller list, whether you've written a word of that book or not. Just having the James Patterson name on it. Let's talk about the books of yours that get made into movies. You know, you one of your most famous series stars a black detective, Alex Cross. You know, so let's not even pretend. And again, you know, at least he didn't try to make it a saga. He created a character, a great character who happens to be a black man. But you know, he didn't try to write this whole thing about the black experience. So I can appreciate that much at least. But the comments, I was lost on that. And of course, once he got reamed, he went back and tried to apologize and clean it up a little bit. But you know,
the capacity of it all.
That's where you are, huh? So that's what we say when is that going to be our new phrase when they just say something completely out
You
of pocket?
said it first, and I like when I sent you this story and you responded back the caucasity, I bust out laughing. Like I was just like, that is a perfect any response to this story. I was just like, it's perfect. So like now I'm like, it has stuck. Like I say that now, telling you, like, yo, when I like the first time I ever heard it was when you sent it, and ever since then I'd be like, yo, the caucasity of it all.
Right.
I'm saying that for all. Forget the whole Karen thing. Forget Karen. Every single time something like this happens, the response is going to be the caucasity of it all. That's it.
I was just like they're not like, dude, really? What the fuck? So that's where I am on that. Like I'm just beyond. And I you know, some of his books they become a little formulaic, but I let him do his thing. And I'm not gonna say I haven't read them because I did read some of the Alex Cross series. And I have to say it's rare for me to go back and read a book after I read after I've seen the movies. Usually I try, if I have an interest, I usually try to read the book before I see the movie. But the Alex Cross ones with Morgan Freeman, they were so good. I went back and I read those books after the movie. And, you know, so I'm not going to say I haven't read James Patterson. I'm a casual fan of James Patterson. He's not one of those authors that every time he writes something, I have to go out and read it. But I have read his books. I did want to read the one with Dolly Parton. I might still read it just for her because I love me some Dolly. But yeah, he can suck a big dick at this point. Whatever.
Shit, not the big one though.
Yeah. He might enjoy it. Never mind. I don't know. All right. So moving on. Speaking about next chapters, and I know we'll probably talk about this more in our K-pop series, but BTS announced that they are taking their hiatus, that they're going on hiatus after their comeback, more so to pursue solo careers, and to just kind of come back together as a group. And did you see the special where they announced it, their Festa dinner?
No, I did not. I mean, I watched clips, but I didn't watch the whole thing. No,
I watched it, and I watched where they announced it, and I'm not surprised because an anthology album after your ninth year, which is an odd year, I was like, that's usually an even number anniversary thing, but okay, and I kind of get it. And watching the Festa and listening to their reasoning behind it, you get it. They've been doing this since they were 13, 14 years old. We don't know how long they were trainees before they actually came together as the group, but they've been together for at least 10 years. And they're all very talented individuals. And sometimes you got to step away and kind of grow on your own a little bit and figure out who you are as a man, because you don't want to make the same music that you made as a kid. You're not that same person. So, and you get the I never got the sense that they were breaking up from this at all. They didn't say they were breaking up. They just said exactly what it is. They're taking a break. They're doing their own thing. And I also think the timing is perfect, just in case they can't officially get out of military duty. This is the perfect time for them to go into to start sending them into the military, because you also know that this is not a group that would perform with just part of the group. So, um, but it is costing Hy-Vee a lot of money. When it was first announced, their stock plummeted. Last week it recovered a little bit, but they're still losing money from this. And people are like, and I'm like, but they're not breaking up. It's kind of like a Got Seven thing to me. That's the way I looked at it. What do you
think? So I know I watched a clip of RM talking, and RM has said some things similar, and what he said was that or kind of what he was hinting at was yeah, they've been working at it for 10 years, but for the last 3 years, like, they have not had a break at
think?
all. Like, they just been moving constantly doing something else. The amount of responsibilities that was put on their shoulders because of their popularity. And another thing was that RM made the comment that they wanted to get back to who they were as BTS. And I felt like part of what he was saying was, before they allowed Western influence on the decisions that they made about their music. Because the comments that he was making was leaning towards that idea. They have heard the fans who have said that they've slowly lost what made them special, because of how focused they were on getting a Grammy. And it didn't work. And so they want to go back to the drawing board and go back to, focusing on what made them who they are, what made them BTS. So I am all for that, because I've been saying that for the last year. And look, yes, they can. They can definitely promote without the full 7 members. Because what I think is going to ultimately happen, if they do have to serve in the military, the vocal line is who is going to be pushed to the forefront. I mean, granted, they are the most popular members now, but they're going to be pushed to the forefront on continuing to put out music, because what you realize with the stocks going down as much over this announcement, even though they're not breaking up, is that no matter how much Hive tries to diversify, their whole money business is still completely around BTS.
Well, yeah, of course, because without BTS, there would be no Hive. Like,
But
let's not forget.
I get that, but they've been trying to diversify for 2 years, planning for the fact that they knew this was going to come at some point, and all the business decisions that they have been making to try to not get hit as hard when this announcement came out didn't work. It hasn't worked. The whole, like, so my thing is that, let's say that they have to serve in the military. How does, like, are y'all dead in the water? Because your whole business, even as you diversify, you change your name. It's no longer Big Hit, but your whole business is still BTS. Like, all the groups that you have under your label and everything like that, like, are not going, they're not going to be a safety net. They're not a safety net. And it's, by a business standpoint, just seeing all the work that Bang put in because of this, like, it had to hit hard. Like, the amount of money that they lost when this announcement came out, even though they're not actually breaking up, like, yeah. Yeah. I welcome it. I think that they do need a break. I think that they need to figure out who they are as men, because they are very isolated and they are very restrictive on what BTS can do. And the more popular they become, the more restrictions that are put on them as individuals, as men in their late 20s, and still they can't live their lives. So I would hope that this hiatus allows them to live their lives more and figure out who they are without BTS.
And see, and I get what you're saying, and I understand that. And here's what I say: I I get wanting to figure out who you are as BTS, but there is no going back. Um, they're not, and you can kind of get back to the roots and figure out who you are now as men and the type of music that you want to make in your 20s and going into your late 20s, going into your 30s. But they're and getting back to that sound. But for those who say, oh, you need to go back to being BTS, there is no going back to being BTS. It's figuring out who BTS is in the next phase, what type of music they're going to make in the next phase. So people are like, you need to go back to the beginning. They're never going to sound like they sounded in their first albums or their first few albums, because that's not who they are anymore. And that's what I got from this. And RM was, and when he was talking, he was like, there's so many things I want to say, but I can't continue speaking for BTS because I'm not just BTS, I'm RM. So there's things that he wants to say in his own music that he can't say. So I got that feeling so restrictive as BTS, and trying to figure out how all seven of them fit in the sound that they want to make. So I got it. I welcomed it. It and I have to applaud Heidi for the damage control that they did, and or trying to do, and saying, and not forcing them right back out there. And like I said, I think it also comes at a time where, to see if they would actually be able to get out of the, if they're, what's going to happen with their military, because the extension would be up, I guess, around uh the end of this year. And Jen would have to report. I don't think they would be dead in the water. I think they would have to have a plan where they send multiple people in at one time, though. It can't be one, then two, then three. And I also don't think, even though they probably could promote, I don't think they would promote without a full or majority of the group. So we would just have to see how it goes. And like I said, I'm pretty sure we'll talk more about this when we get to our K-pop special, and talk about BTS's comeback or their anthology album.
Oh gosh, let's not have a full hour count. That's gonna be like an hour conversation.
No, it's not a full hour conversation.
Yeah. I do want to say, so what I will say is, on the people that I've talked to who are like bigger fans of BTS than I could ever be in any point of my life, no matter how much I love them. What I continued to hear over and over again was that they don't want them to go back to the beginning, but they did get tired real quickly of them chasing the Grammy, because that's what they were doing with the English singles. They were chasing the Grammy, and so they were happy to hear to hear the new song that they put out. um that's what they meant by going back to who BTS was. So when they say that, at least the people that I spoke to, they're not trying to say for them to go back to the beginning, to like, the Spring Day, era, or Blood, Sweat and Tears era, but they want to go back to before Butter and Permission to Dance and Universe and Dynamite, which obviously was them chasing something that is never going to be given to them. We're going to be honest, it's never going to be given to them. So they were very satisfied with this new sound of BTS, where they go back to K-pop music and not these all English singles that they've been putting out. Like, at least the people that I spoke to, like that was the point that they were making on where they felt BTS needs to go back to. And that's something that RM has said in the past. He's hinted at on them going back to their roots. And when he said that, I got the feeling that he meant the same thing that these people meant, which is not going back to the beginning, but going back to before they were putting out all these all English CDs and songs, and going back to putting out K-pop music.
Well, see, because they're a K-pop group, kind of like Monster X, whatever they put out is going to be K-pop, and that's the thing. And I get it, because some of it you could tell it was Grammy bait, but I didn't have a problem with Butter or Dynamite. But here's my thing for that is, are people going to be disappointed if they do? I wouldn't be disappointed if they did release more English songs or an English album. It's worked for Monster X. You know, and I'm not saying it is to chase a Grammy. I'm just saying it as a different challenge. You know, so it would be interesting to see where they go with that, what direction they take and how they do it. All right. So the last story, this one I thought was really, really interesting. What Hollywood is not as LGBTQ friendly as people want to believe. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree. It's never been LGBTQ friendly.
But you know, in this era of allyship and acceptance and showing relationships on TV and movies and things like that,
how many have come out that have shown them? Honestly, when you look at the amount of movies and TV shows that have come out that given an honest depiction of the LGBTQ community, how many have there been? It's not as widespread as people think. I spoke to some people about this, and what they kind of notice is that when you have one show, and the show has a main character who's part of the LGBTQ community, and that show becomes really popular, then people look at it as, oh my God, it's in my face. Like, gosh darn it, like, why is it got to be everywhere? When it's really not. It's one or two shows compared to 100 shows where they just have hetero characters for all the main characters. So when you really look at this, when you sent me the link and I like read it and I realized, I was just like, oh no, that's the point. I was just like, when I really think about it, Hollywood has never been LGBTQ had allyship going. They've been about the bottom line, which is what the article talked about. And when it was popular, they put out like one here, two there. But when you really think about it, it's not that many. It's really not that many. And they've always gone backwards on how much they put out, just based on how much money they can make off of it.
I agree. And I think it kind of goes back to, we talked about the ending of Love, Victor. I think that show never really got its full potential. And this season, we talked about it in our review. It actually regressed a little bit. And I don't know if that's because they premiered it partly on Disney Plus, and or what. And I don't know if that's in response to Disney now just having a fuck you stance towards Florida after, you know, forced to speak out about the Don't Say Gay bill, and Florida didn't like the stance that they took. So now it's like they're in a power contest or a power struggle with
Florida's
Florida.
won that, but yeah.
So you know, we'll see, but I agree. You know, and it seems like and to add on to that, sometimes the more popular a show becomes with the character, that character slowly but surely falls into the background, and becomes more of a supporting than a main character, especially if it's an ensemble cast. Or it's just mentioned that they're gay, but you don't actually see them have a love interest. And that pisses me off, especially if it's a beloved character or a likable character. Shows like, and I'm not saying this just for the sake of writing in a gay character, but I would love to see a show, a hard ass show like Chicago PD or Chicago Fire. I don't watch Chicago Fire too much anymore, but you know, I'm still all in on Chicago PD. I would love to see a show like Chicago PD have a gay character, not just for the sake, like I said, not just for token points, but to actually have a gay character. Are you trying to tell me that there aren't any tough, hard ass gay cops out there? You know what I'm saying? So just something like that, like in places where you could put um, have that representation and show where it matters, you don't have it. And the article being about the bottom line, I thought it made a great point um, about China and about Rocket Man. Rocket Man's success may have been a little bit due to the fact that it was a little bit of a weird movie. It was a good movie, but when they compared it to uh, Bohemian Rhapsody, which did skirt around the issue or the fact that Freddie Mercury was gay, and never addressed his queerness or his sexuality, um, which we know he did not hide at all. But uh, so my point is that we are the only country, or Hollywood is the only that markets our movies internationally for everyone else. We may get a British movie here. We may see a British movie here every now and then, but they're not marketed towards our market. China doesn't make movies for us that and they have a very big entertainment industry. The same with Bollywood. We can places and find those movies and see those movies, especially with Netflix, and some of the others offering having an international slate of movies or international offering. But it surprised me, and it didn't surprise me, I guess, from the fact of just how much consideration goes into where else these movies can play. But those other countries don't do that for us. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
So I was just surprised. And then my thing is, everything is not for everyone, because the one movie that they mentioned with Billy Eichner about that Bros movie, I'm like, oh, so what are you going to do? Are you going to just market that for the U.S. market? Because it's not going to get into China. So to me, it's like, why, if you're telling these stories and you're telling them for a specific audience, who cares if they want to buy it in China? It's not necessarily made for the Chinese audience.
Yeah, but China has.
I understand the marketability. I understand that. And I get there are certain movies, like a big blockbuster movie, like let's say the new Mission Impossible movie, which from the trailers I'm pissed off that we have to wait another year because that movie looks good. I understand you're going to be marketing that type of big blockbuster internationally. I get that. I get the dollars and the cents. But what I'm saying is, not every single movie that comes out of Hollywood has to be an international blockbuster. And if that's the way you're making certain movies, if that's the scale you're putting certain movies on, then that's a bad business model. I know the DC movie. It is. If that's how you're going after every single movie that you make, because not every single movie is going to live up to that. I get there are certain movies, your DC movies, your Marvel movies, your big action hero movies. I understand that scale, and yes, they should be put on that scale. Some of your Disney Pixar movies, some of those, like the whole Lightyear thing, the whole Lightyear controversy. I understand that to a certain extent, but every single movie you make is not an international movie. It's not. And it's not going to have international appeal. And you shouldn't make it with that market in mind.
But so I hear what you're saying, but I disagree. Because they're not marketing, every movie is not marketed to the Chinese market. Every movie is not marketed to the Asian market. But Rocket Man and oh my God, was it called Queen? No, Bohemian Rhapsody, sorry. Was blockbuster movies. They weren't superhero movies. They weren't action flicks, but they were big movies that were being marketed around the world. That's business. Like, you want to make the most money that you possibly can. I am definitely wanting my movie to be marketed in China, because China is the biggest movie market in the world. I definitely want my movie to, because they go to the movies in droves. So if you want to make as much money as possible for your movies, you definitely want your movie to be in the Asian market. That's just automatic. They even have it where they're trying to open up the Middle Eastern market as well. Like, you want your movie, because they're starving for those movies, because even though they make their own movies, nothing is compared to Hollywood movies. All right, America is number one on making movies in the world. I sure enough want to make as much money as I can in every single market that I can market my movie to. So the decisions that are made that majority of countries are homophobic, I'm going to have to change the way that I make my movies. I'm going to have to change characters that are in my movies. I'm going to have to make it very ambiguous on certain ideas that I am putting out there, because I want the money. Because if you're running a studio, it's all about making money. Because when a movie flops, I'm not making it again. I'm not making it again. Like Lightyear, no Lightyear 2. Because Lightyear flopped. No Lightyear 2. Because it flopped. And they're gonna chalk it up to, the lesbian kiss. I think it's partly on the movie, the decisions that Pixar made to put it in, then take it out, and then being forced to put it back in, and still trying to market it around the world to, let's be honest, countries that are not as open-minded and liberal as we are. Or as we pretend to be, because a lot of times it's us pretending rather than actually being. So yeah, I just feel like it's good business to want to make as much money as possible, because that's what the movie industry has always been about. And nowadays, making money in the Asian market is where it's at. And so you're going to have to make some tough decisions. It's going to make you look bad in America. It is, but if you want to make that money in China, you're going to have to change your movies. Like, that's just decisions that studios have to make. And I hate it, but that's how it goes.
And again, I understand that. The whole Lightyear thing could have been easily resolved. Just take it out in those markets. It wasn't like it was a central part of the movie. Just take that one scene out in the market. It's not the first time it's been done. It won't be the last time it's been done.
Oh, it flopped in America.
Oh, I understand that. I do. I get that. I wholly get that. And sometimes a movie can be a flop here, but because it does so well internationally, it gets that. And I understand the whole business model of it. But every single movie should not be that way. There's some movies where that going in, that this is a movie that is going to be an American movie, that this is a movie that I can sell in certain European markets, certain American market, European markets, but maybe not in Asia. And I get how much they go to the movies. But
can you give me an example
of a smaller movie?
Because I can't. So I hear what you're saying, but I can't think of a movie that would apply to what you're saying. Do you have like an example of like a movie that would apply to what you're saying?
Here's the thing. Okay, we'll go back to a movie that we've already used. I will say, excuse me, we'll go back to Rocket Man. You knew Rocket Man was going to be overt in its homosexuality because of Elton John, and there was no way he was going to allow you to skirt around the issue of who he is or how he lives his life or his sexuality. So for you to even try to go into the mindset that you were going to be able to get that movie into the Chinese markets, or to the Asian markets, into the Middle Eastern markets, that was naive on your part. That was bad planning. That was bad business to even figure them into, because there's no way you could chop up that movie to where that it would be acceptable in those markets. So for you to figure that into your calculations as to whether or not the movie was a success or a failure, to me, that's bad planning. And I get what you're saying. Yeah, to a certain extent, you are going to market it to a global audience, but that's a movie that is going to be basically your Western markets, not just in America, but your European markets, okay? And to some extent, maybe your South American markets. But that's not a movie that's going to sell in your Asian, Middle Eastern markets. So for you to even attempt to do that was a bad planning on your part. You just have to get to the point that everything is not for everyone. The bigger ones, yeah, I understand. because we make enough of those movies. We do. But, and again, and until COVID, we were the biggest market, movie market. And then, you know, China rushed and got their movies and their market open faster than we did. So they've overtaken that. But before then, we were number one. And what I'm saying is, China doesn't give a China never gave a shit about that. They didn't make movies to market over here for us, you know.
But they're not Hollywood.
And but I get that. But for them to be in the biggest market, for us to have been the biggest market, it seems like, yeah, we want to get a chip out of that. Korea, they don't make movies, and they have damn good entertainment. That's what I'm saying. Everyone doesn't do that for us. And again, everything is not for everyone. There are certain movies that you make, and you just know where you can sell that movie.
But we don't want to watch their movies.
And some of them we would if we gave them a chance, but I think you're missing my point.
No. Eddie, I fully get what you say. Like I hear what you're saying. My thing is that in America, we don't care to watch Chinese movies or movies from other countries. And I get they're not gonna make any money. So why would they market to, like, they're not gonna make any money from
every movie we make should not, every movie that we make, and I understand you're going to have those movies, and I understand a lot of those movies will be the vast majority of those movies just because of how movies are, of what's selling. Those big, drawn out, you know, if they could find a way to keep Fast and Furious fresh, I'm sure there would be 50 more Fast and Furious movies, you know. But what I'm saying is, not everything is for everyone. And to go in and try to make all of your movies based on that calculation is bad business. And that is part of the reason why streaming is cutting into the movie industry. Because in some cases, you can find better movies on streaming. Some of the movies that are made specifically for Netflix, specifically for Prime, specifically to show on Hulu. Some of those movies are better than what's in the movie theater because they're not taking that into consideration. Some of your indie films, and that's how you got the rise of the indie films, because they're not necessarily banking on that. And for a long time, before they became more quote unquote mainstream, a lot of the actors knew, hey, if I'm going to chase this Oscar glory, then I have to go make that indie film. I have to take less money and I have to go make that indie film because it's not going to be in that big blockbuster thing. So that's what I'm just saying. There's a lesson to be learned. I understand the article and I understand what they're saying. And I understand that, yes, you do want to make a lot of your movies, the majority of your movies, your big action flicks, your big star turns. You want to make those so that they can be marketed in other markets, especially those big international markets. But every single movie that you make, no, everything is not for everyone. That's just bad business.
You know, streaming does it as well. Netflix has changed a lot of their movies. Like they've changed like certain movies with certain scenes that they feel they can't market as well on Netflix and other countries. They've changed their streaming services have also changed their content in order to match other market. Like I get what you're saying. I look at it as in, it's horrible to say, but if I am a studio exec, I don't think they market every single movie to the Chinese market. It is mainly just blockbusters that they're marketing over there, or movies that they want to be blockbusters that they're marketing over there. Because it's something as simple as the Statue of Liberty in one of the movies that the article talked about, and how they kind of went back and forth because China didn't want to show the movie until they took the scene out. And they finally was just like, no, we're not taking the scene out. So it's either you don't show the movie and you got a lot of people upset in your country, or you show the movie with the Statue of Liberty, something as simple as that. So I think like when it comes to blockbusters, it's just how the market goes now. They're going to have to cater to other markets, and China just happens to be the biggest market right now. But when it comes to like smaller films, it really is just America that they're focusing on, or Europe that they're focusing on. But those big blockbusters, they're gonna have to change some scenes, or they're gonna have to negotiate. But they don't market every single movie to the Asian market.
Yeah,
not every movie.
Not every movie, but there's a calculus that goes into it. I mean, I get it. Trust me, I get it. Is that being part of the industry or that I want to be a part of, and every day I ask myself why. But I understand the calculus that they make, and I understand the marketing, and some of it is here and dealing with our own prejudices. Like you said, I think we kind of got away from what we were originally talking about being LGBTQ friendly. Would Chicago PD still be as popular as it was if it added a gay cop?
Grey's Anatomy is
to the mix. And but is it more acceptable, you think, with hospital shows? Like, I love Grey's Anatomy, and I think they did a great job in adding the transgender, or not the trans, but the non-binary character, and all, So, would it be more acceptable? Like, I don't know. Like I said, I would love to see it, not just to have the token gay cop, just to say, hey, but to actually have a character come in and or create a show, a cop show, one of those tough shows with a gay character. So I get it. I agreed with the article. I didn't have any disagreements. Hollywood is not as friendly to the LGBTQ community as it wants to pretend.
Hollywood
like
is not as friendly to Black people either, or Hispanics, or Asians.
Thank you, people, color, minorities, anybody that can check that other box, no matter what your other is. Oh, Hollywood
Eddie, I got the perfect response to this.
What?
The caucasity of it all.
That is perfect. Okay. We went a little bit over, but there was a lot to talk about. I got our palette cleanser. You ready?
Go for it.
I stopped telling you about these because I like hearing your expression. I love the expression. Okay, so it's summertime, and we're talking about how it's just hot as fuck out. I think you said it topped off 106 today in Houston, or close to 100. Okay, so it's popsicle ice cream season. French's has come up with ketchup popsicles.
Get the fuck out of here! What? Who's eating ketchup just to eat? Unless you're like really, really poor, when we used to eat ketchup sandwiches. You ever had a ketchup sandwich, Eddie?
No, I skipped that. As much as I love ketchup, no, I skipped that part.
No, that's when you real poor. When you put ketchup on it, you act like there's a hot dog in the middle of it.
No,
I'm sorry.
Popsicle
that's ketchup.
We at least had the cheese to go in between it. Yeah, and I love ketchup. I'm the person who eats ketchup on everything. Everything. I'm the person who goes to a 5-star restaurant and asks for a side of ketchup on a brilliantly cooked steak. They bring it. They look at me like I'm fucking. They look at me like I'm fucking crazy.
Barbecue sauce. Barbecue sauce is my thing.
But they bring it to me in the little silver container, and I'm like, tell the chef, no offense, it's just me. It's me in my day classiness or classlessness, whatever you want to call it. Just tell the chef it's me. It's no offense to him. And
this is gonna flop.
Her excellent cooking.
This is gonna flop.
The ketchup popsicle.
Yeah, it's gonna flop. It'll never be back. It will not be back next year.
Well, you never know. Next year they might try mustard or mayonnaise.
No, they just need to do the pickles. If they haven't already. I wouldn't be surprised if they're already a pickle popsicle, because people really love pickles
and pickle juice. That would probably sell better than
sell better than ketchup popsicle. Wait, that was my palate cleanser?
It was.
Dang it, I thought you were gonna be talking about like a cute like somebody cute or something like that. Like, I thought you was gonna throw out like J-Hope comeback on July 15th or something. Like, okay, I guess.
Okay, J-Hope come back on July 15th. And while he's performing at Lollapalooza, you can hope that they have your ketchup pop.
Touche.
Well, that does it for this episode of the ReWine. Please be sure to listen, like, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeart. We're everywhere. We're growing. Thank you for growing with us. You can also keep up to date on the latest in entertainment and pop culture news, as well as other amazing kernels of pop culture goodness at the Popcorn Wind Down. That's it. That's the plug. Poppity pop, pop, pop. Thank you for always, and thank you as always. And until next time, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy. Bye.
Peace.